Thank you. It's good seeing everybody. It's been a long 3 months. And it's going to take me some time to get through this, so I apologize in advance. I want to take a moment to thank the governor, the First Lady, and his staff for all their support these last few months. You've been gracious in sharing your leadership and your resources during Joplin's greatest hour of need. I can't thank you enough. I also want to take a moment to recognize my outstanding Board of Education and a couple members of my leadership team. With President Ashley Micklethwaite, Vice President Jim Kimbrough, Board members Annie Sharp, Mike Landis, Phil Wilcox, and Randy Steele stand. It's rock-solid leadership right there, folks. I'd also like for two amazing ladies who are outstanding leaders, Dr. Angie Bessendorfer, my Assistant Superintendent, and Kim Van, my Director of Community Development. I'd ask you to please stand as well. There are 2 of 10 people on my team that I can't even express what they've been through the last 3 months and the work that they've done to get us back on track. Couldn't have done it without them. Lastly, I'd like to introduce my wife. Jennifer, would you please stand for a moment? For the last 132 days, she's lived the life of a single mom, taking care of my 3 beautiful kids, one of which is a 2-year-old. So that's like 5 kids. And she's going to kill me for saying this, I know, so I may have to exit off the other side of the stage when I'm finished here. But when she was in school, she was in the gifted program. When I was in school, I was not in the gifted program. I was a pullout for another program. But if you were to take a look at me and to take a look at her, I think you'd agree I'm the smart one, so I thank you. Tonight, I just wanted to take a few moments to share a few thoughts with you as it relates to our roles and responsibilities as educators in this great state and the potential of the people here in this room this evening. From what I hear, the news media has done a pretty fair job of painting a picture of the devastation in our community. We haven't had much time to watch the news in Joplin, so I don't intend to retell the story that has already been told countless times. However, I do intend to honor the lives of the 7 children and 1 educator who are a part of our school family that we lost in that storm. By sharing another story that has not been told until this evening. This story begins with my school board. Folks who are not unlike many of you, on a normal day, they work long, hard hours at the job that puts food on their table, then attend school board meetings, committee meetings, open houses, and ball games, just to come home to deal with patron calls about everything from overcooked chicken nuggets to angry cheerleader moms. And like you, they do this second full-time job for free just because they love kids. What makes them unique is that within this group, there is a board member who lost her home, one that almost lost his only child, one that picked up his 2 boys from a friend's house just minutes before the house was completely destroyed, and as longtime residents of Joplin, each of them lost family or friends in that storm. And in spite of the personal trauma they experienced, they stuck together. And when I made the announcement on May 24th that we were going to start school on time on August 17th, they didn't question the decision. They got out in front and took care of business. Their first task, believe it or not, was approval of MSBA policy DJF. That policy granted the authority needed to the superintendent of schools to make emergency purchasing decisions without board approval. They didn't hesitate, not even for a second, to put their trust in me and my team to do the work necessary to get our kids back in school. Without even saying it, they knew too that getting our kids back in school and out of the rubble was the most important thing we could do to get our community back on track. And in the days and the weeks that followed, they held emergency board meeting after emergency board meeting, sometimes in a classroom, oftentimes in parking lots amidst the rubble, keeping the minutes on napkins and splintered lumber. In the 3 years leading up to May 22nd, They had already clearly understood their role as a board and had worked with me for 3 years building that ever so critical board superintendent relationship. We were ready for May 22nd and didn't even know it. If you were to ask them today what their role was in the successful start to that school year, they would humbly say they did little. The fact is, had they not done the work boards are trained to do in the way they were trained to do it, our kids would still be at home wondering when they'd hear that first bell so that they could be reunited with their friends and teachers who they missed so dearly. August 17th for me was the greatest single day of my professional career, and I have our Board of Education to thank for that. Thank you. I think there are 2 lessons in this part of the story. Lesson 1, the training of the Missouri School Boards Association provides has value. Take advantage of their services. Not only have we adopted the MSBA policy manual, but over the last 3 years, our board has taken advantage of additional training opportunities MSBA offers. I can tell you that it made a difference for us on May 22nd. Lesson 2, in public education, devastation can take lots of different forms. I cannot stress enough the importance of the relationship between the school board and the superintendent. If you are not joined at the hip, working together as a cohesive team with a laser-like focus on a common goal, I can assure you that you will not be ready for the unknown challenges that may be coming at you tomorrow. Whatever barriers that exist in the board superintendent relationship you have today, tonight I challenge you to have the courage to sit down together, maybe even this weekend, and start the conversation by asking this simple question. If an EF5 tornado were to rip through the heart of your community, rendering over half of your schools useless and damaging or destroying the homes of 3,000 of your children, taking the lives of 7 of them, are you ready? Are you, the superintendent and the Board of Education, on common ground, doing the work that needs to be done when it needs to be done for every child, every day, no matter what? Part 2 of this story is a story that's hard for me to tell. It's a story about all of our kids. I'd like to start this story with the story of the children of Joplin. These last few months, I have learned that as adults, we can learn a lot if we watch and listen to our kids. These are hard stories for me to tell, so bear with me. I'm going to start with Emily. She's a middle school cheerleader who was in a car with her family when the storm hit. After the tornado had passed, she had to be rushed to the hospital due to a large area of flesh that had been ripped from her leg. I talked to her mom the other day, just this last week, as she shared with me Emily's amazing story of recovery. Her mom was so proud of her because the night before school started, Emily was laying out her clothes. Laying her clothes out for school, and a family member encouraged her to wear leggings or a long skirt to cover her massive scar. Emily's response, "No, it's a part of who I am now." Folks, that's courage. Quentin, a high school junior on May 22nd, now a senior, was at home with his mom and dad when the storm was imminent. He tried to get his dogs to safety. He told me the last thing he remembers is being hit in the back by something. He not only lost his dogs, the storm took his mom and his dad and broke his back. Quentin spent his summer not only grieving the loss of his parents, but enduring hours of physical therapy to get back on his feet. On August 17th, Quentin walked into Joplin High School as a proud senior on his own 2 feet, and the football team, without prompting from the coach, elected him team captain. That, folks, is love. This is where I get to be a dad. This is a hard one. About a month following the storm, I finally had the opportunity to spend some time with my son, Keaton. We were headed to Laser City to play a few rounds of laser tag. It had been a while since we'd spent some time together, but on the way there, we were engaged in some small talk, and at some point I felt the need to apologize to him for not following through on all the promises I'd made about how we'd spend our time together this summer. His response to my apology forced me to pull over. He said, "It's okay, Dad, you're helping people. That's the most important thing." Keaton's 9 years old, and that, folks, is selflessness. Now let's talk about your kids. I can't even begin to describe the humility I've felt these past few months. I often get asked what has touched me the most in terms of the nation's response to this disaster. As you know, we have received support from around the world, but it's been the children who have amazed me the most. I could tell you story after story about our kids, both near and far, who are prompted not by their parents, but compelled to do something to help our kids in Joplin. Children from across the country have raised money at lemonade stands, bake sales, and car washes. They've emptied their piggy banks and donated their toys, their clothes, and their books, in many cases, their most prized possessions. That is giving in its purest form. Lesson number 3, as you all know, we live in a country increasingly critical of public education. It encourages my heart to know that our children, yours and mine, have shown the rest of the world that we have the leadership in America's public schools that instills not only content knowledge of the head, but civic knowledge of the heart. That is a tribute to each of you and the work that you do every day for our kids. 132 days ago, my perspective on life and leadership was changed forever, and I hope this evening that I have helped to reframe your perspective on your role as educational leaders and that you leave here with a renewed sense of purpose. We have amazing kids in our schools, and tonight I ask that we all learn from our children. Their expressions of courage, love, selflessness, and giving hearts in the shadow of catastrophe is a valuable lesson for us all. The challenges of tomorrow that we will face together in public education are both known and unknown, but I am certain we are all going to be okay because we know, without question, we are doing a lot of things right in public education, but at the same time, we are willing to acknowledge we still have work to do. When I think about the potential of the leadership in this room this evening, I'm excited about what the future holds for our children, and I hope you are too. For I believe there is no higher calling, and each of us has the honor of being called to do the work that needs to be done, when it needs to be done, for every child, every day, no matter what. Thank you, and God bless.